Hey, we're in Nashville, Tennessee to visit the Lane Motor Museum, where there are over 500 cars and a collection of unique and unusual vehicles. And we're getting started right now. Okay, so we're here inside the Lane Motor Museum. I'm here with Robert Sparrow-Jones, and he's going to give us a tour around the facility today and let us know what's going on. So Robert,
yes,
what is your role here at the museum?
well, I'm the curator of this unusual collection. I have the distinction of being the caretaker of the artifacts. But it's funny to call them artifact. In a different kind of museum, we wouldn't touch these pieces of art. In this case, we drive these around and exercise them, and so it makes this an unusual museum.
When I look around in here, there's such an unusual collection of cars here that I feel like when you go out, you must get a lot of looks.
Oh, right? No matter what car you take out,
yeah,
you get a lot of looks. You get people slowing down, you get people stopping to ask you questions.
Right.
It's a lot of fun.
So the museum houses about 500 cars or more.
That's right.
And then you have roughly how many on display?
Roughly 140 to 150 on display.
So of the ones that are here today, do you have sort of a favorite that's on display?
Oh, that's a tough question for any of us here at the museum. When I first came here, I saw a couple vehicles that connected to my kind of childhood, and those are the ones that are close to my heart. But then there are ones that I learn about that are really unique. I've never heard of them before, and the way I'm connected to them is through the way you find out how the maker dreamed of the vehicle. It's a one of a kind. There's nothing like it.
That is something that I think about coming in here, that it is a museum in the sense that there's more here than just cars. It's a lot of history. And it's great. The exhibits have great information from it, and some of it goes into not just about the car, but about the company's history and things like that. And that's really, really cool information. It's a neat place to come and learn about some of these things, because I would say that the vast majority of the vehicles in this building I've probably never seen. And I've seen a lot of cars. I'm a car person.
Yeah, you hear that a lot from anybody who walks in the door who's got knowledge about automotive history.
In general, are you what you call a car guy? Like, do you have a collection of your own, or do you have a specific vehicle that you consider your toy?
Oh yeah, I do. I have a 1973 Triumph GT6. It's a hardtop coupe, and I have a 1956 Zundap Bella. So those are my two projects at home.
Well, listen, how about you show us around?
Yeah, let's take a look around.
All right, great. Okay, Robert, so we're here in the French section.
Yes.
Okay, tell me a little bit about what's going on here.
Well, we've got a really great French collection, actually, at the Lane Motor Museum. The French are just idiosyncratic designers, and we just love them. And this is a really great display of race cars and production cars that we have here.
So in this area, which one would you say is your favorite?
Well, I'd have to say, my favorite are the Matras, which are kind of related to the Panhard race cars in the Renault Special over yonder. So there's kind of a historical kind of connection between all of them. But I love Matra because they came from this one gentleman, René Bonnet, who kind of had a dream of being a race car driver. He and this fellow Duce created a company, DB, and from there they were bought up by Matra, who was creating plastic bodies for them, which became like the Dijet series. And that's why I love the 65 Matra Dijet 5. It's a beautiful car, and it has a lineage that I'm really interested in.
Of all these cars, let me ask you, you've driven a lot of cars in the museum.
Yes.
Have you driven this one?
I have not driven this one.
I'd like to see this one on the road. Look at that thing.
Yeah, it is a legitimate race car, and it is as fast as it looks.
Yeah, I mean, it looks incredible. I've actually never seen one before. It's really, really good looking car.
2019. I hope to drive it someday.
Now that's probably, if I have to guess, not street legal.
It is street legal.
No kidding.
Yes.
Is that right? Wow. Well,
yeah.
Now you have to drive it, right?
That's right.
You have to. You have Britain, Germany, Italy. We have all these. Which country would you say is represented the most here in the museum?
Wow, that is a really good question. Definitely slanted towards European, though we do have a number of American cars, and the one of American cars we have are extremely rare, one-off. I would have to say probably the French are a large number of our collection, and we have production cars and people's cars, but we also have super unusual propeller-powered French
Some
cars.
incredibly wild-looking things.
Yes.
Where do you want to go next?
Let's head over to propeller-powered.
So, Robert, we're in an area of the museum which is a little bit unusual because I notice most of the vehicles here have something pretty unique,
True.
and that is a propeller. So what's going on here?
This is an exhibit of propeller-driven vehicles that we've amassed here at Lane, and they're very unique. It's hard to believe that some of these vehicles were actually roadworthy and they were designed to be on the road. They look like they should be in the air.
They're just really incredible looking pieces. And the Lane Motor Museum, I can't imagine there's a place where you're going to find more of these, right?
Oh, gosh.
Is there a place out there where you can find more propeller-powered vehicles?
You wonder, or we all wonder. It's like, for example, the Helicron was found in a barn. It was found in rubble in France back in 2000, and we restored it to its full glory. Most of the pieces were there, minus the engine. We put a Citroen engine in it, and so we do wonder, are they out there? And they do come up, but it's very rare, very rare.
Do these vehicles make it onto the road? I know you said they drive a lot of the vehicles here. Are these seen out on the streets?
The only one that we really drive is the Helicron. And we keep it running. We take it out, or Jeff takes it out quite a bit. When it was restored, it was actually licensed to be on the streets of in France, so it's licensed to be on the road. The Layat that's right next to it, he actually made more propeller-driven vehicles. He had a whole series of them, and he had high hopes of making a high production vehicle. His propeller-driven vehicles are just so beautifully made. I mean, you could tell that he had aeronautical background. They're just very lightweight, beautifully crafted, vehicles.
Of all of them that are here, the closest thing I've ever encountered would be perhaps this one here, where I was in the swamps of the Everglades in Florida.
Yeah.
But it wasn't quite on a piece like this.
That's
it was
right.
a little bit bigger and probably a little more stable, I would imagine, than a propeller-powered canoe.
It's true, and it's like one of the unusual things you see about a lot of these propeller-driven vehicles is that the propeller itself is not really contained. It's out in the open, so they're fairly dangerous.
Yeah, I can imagine. I don't think I want to sit anywhere near the rear end.
Probably not.
Yeah. I would imagine, though, the ones that are forward mounted are probably pretty good at keeping the bugs off of your face while you're going down the road, right?
It does. But when you're sitting in them, when you're driving in them, you can get so much wind wash. You feel like you're flying through the air.
Yeah, it's got to be like being in an open cockpit biplane.
Totally,
Yeah,
totally.
It's really, really neat.
Yeah, and if there is any worry about a forward propeller maybe doing some damage to a human being, it's you would hear that thing coming at you way before it got to you.
So where should we head next?
Maybe we should head over to the Tatra collection.
Robert, we're in the Tatra exhibit.
Yes.
And I don't know a thing about Tatra, so tell me, what do I need to know about Tatra?
Oh my gosh, Tatra has been around for a long time. It's one of the longest production companies that you've never heard of, and it's a Czech car company that made trucks and all kinds of vehicles. And we at the Lane Motor Museum have the largest collection of Czech cars in the country. And Tatra has a really great history. This fellow Ludvinka, he had an idea of building a people's car, and it was really the precursor to the Volkswagen. It was a rear-mounted, air-cooled, 8-cylinder engine that you could see on the T87. And we also have, interestingly enough, a T97 that his son developed. And it's also a rear-mounted, air-cooled engine, and very similar in shape and form to the Volkswagen. Interestingly enough, Ferdinand Porsche worked on the engine design and the concept of Tatra too with Ludvinka. So it has an interesting history to car culture.
So you mentioned Volkswagen. This model right here has a real influence. I mean, when I first looked over, I thought it was a Volkswagen. And so it has an appearance that really reflects that.
It really does. I mean, shape alone, it has a similar look to it. And then you find out that it's a rear-mounted, air-cooled engine way before Volkswagen. It's just a real interesting history.
This behind us, it looks like it was not meant for everyday use.
No, this is a 1950 monoposto race car. Could be used in Formula 1 or Formula 2. It is a fast little bugger. 8-cylinder engine in that little thing, made by Tatra. It's just incredible how small, when you look at them up close, you realize how fast these things go and how dangerous they could be, open cockpit and all.
Right, yeah. It certainly doesn't look like it would meet the safety standards of today, but it does look like it would be probably a pretty good, fun ride.
That would be fun.
Yeah. I understand you have a book coming out about the cars in the museum.
We're very excited about it. It's called Hobby Gone Wild. It's our first book. It's a beautiful production, wonderfully printed, with a foreword by Jay Leno. We have an exhibit that coincides with the book.
I want to take a look at some of those cars. There are really some interesting pieces over there.
There are, yes.
Yeah. So Robert, the book, A Hobby Gone Wild, these are some of the cars, and this one here is fairly unique. What do we have here?
This is very unique. This is a 1952 Citroen Bicephal in Coghlan. It is a two-headed 2CV vehicle that was kind of designed for firefighting in a way in France. So the story goes that there's a firefighter who was on a rescue in a 2CV, and he was going up a pretty treacherous road in the backwoods and came to a block in the road and had to get back down. He couldn't turn around, so in order to get back down, he had another firefighter with a flashlight in the back, and it was a real treacherous kind of escape out of there. So he was determined to make something that would aid in that kind of thing.
And so in this case, two heads are better than one.
That's right.
And does this vehicle operate on the road?
It sure does, and it does some pretty spectacular tricks. It goes forward, goes backwards, it goes kind of sideways a little bit. One end locks and the other steers, and then you could switch it out and one end.
Yeah, I was just thinking in my head, what happens when you drive? How are the wheels just wobbling on the other end? Yeah, you need two arms.
But you could steer from both sides too, which we've done. It's kind of fun.
Yeah, you probably turn one the other way and just do a little circle.
Yeah,
yeah, that's
exactly.
pretty awesome. Yeah, very cool. A couple other cars in here stick out to me. One, this one, which is probably the tiniest car I've ever seen.
That is.
It looks like to me, I feel like I'm at a Disneyland, and there should be music playing, and this should be going in a circle while a fairy tale music plays, because it looks like a little toy car.
That is the Peel Trident, and it has the distinction of being the world's smallest production car. And the Trident itself is actually the world's smallest two-seater in production. But Peel was also known for its single seat, which is the smallest car ever made too. Peel Engineering was on the Isle of Man, situated between Great Britain and Ireland in the Irish Sea. And they were known to produce a lot of fiberglass items like boat hulls and famously motorcycle fairings, because Isle of Man is
well known.
Is the TT race. The idea was to produce something just slightly more, just slightly over a scooter, but with more protection against the weather. You could imagine the weather climate in that area. It was a really good idea.
Well, I have to imagine that you're not going to go anywhere fast in that thing. I can't imagine going more than a few miles an hour. I feel like I would probably be terrified.
That's right.
Yeah, it doesn't seem like you would want to go very fast in that car. Another vehicle here that really stands out, right here against the wall,
Yes.
which looks more like a rocket or maybe a Bonneville speed racer than it does anything.
And that is the brainchild of Alex Tremulous, and who was known for the Tucker torpedo, and everything he designed looked like you could get in it and take off into outer space. He was an incredible thinker and dreamer. This car is most unusual because it has a gyro stabilizing system in it.
Oh wow!
So it's extremely unusual. It's a two-wheel gyro stabilized vehicle, and we restored it to its glory. It's just a interesting piece of motor history.
Yeah, it's really, really fascinating. And then, of course, there are just a ton of cars here to look at. And all these are in the book?
These are all in the book.
We'll put the address to order the book, on the video. You can guys go there, order it. Or if you're here at Lane Motor Museum, you can pick it up in the gift shop.
Besides our main exhibits, we have a German section, a British section, a Italian section, a Swedish section, and a Japanese section, and we have a small scooter exhibit as well.
Wow. Well, I think maybe we'll let you get back to work, and maybe we'll go wander around the museum and take a look at those things. But I did hear that you might take us to take a look in your vault before we leave.
You bet.
All right, let's do
It's
that.
fun.
Yeah, I can't wait. All right, we're gonna go take a look in the vault.